Are the health properties of vitamin C a myth? Find out here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live like Lockhart and Sandra and Judy and Blazer Mama. So many people coming in. B-Kills. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We do go live 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Rachel also just got into the cut here. Keto Uncut. Thank you for being here. 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday is when we go live. So always be here. I will always be here. We also simulcast live over here on my Facebook page where Sandy just popped in to say hi. What's going on, guys? Thanks for being here today. And then finally over on YouTube where Shirley just said hello. Shirley's one of my regulars over there. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay on IGTV right here on Instagram. As soon as the show is over, we put it right up onto IGTV and it's on my main page. So if you ever miss an episode and you want to watch it later, I'll have a lot of people watch this on replay, so go watch it on IGTV. We also put it up over on YouTube. You can type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You'll find the show. Also, you guys, over on YouTube, I have a very special bonus episode of Jimmy Rants. It's another interview from my Real Talk podcast today with Keith Norris. He's one of the co-founders of the Paleo FX conference in Austin, Texas. They've been doing that now about 8 or 9 years. And so he wanted to come on because he's very concerned about what's happening in the country with what we're being asked to do with COVID-19. Very, very interesting conversation about questioning authority, how a lot of us in the nutritional health space are already used to questioning things when it comes to things like saturated fats and grains and what we're supposed to believe. And so the same entities that told us to do all those things are the same ones telling us to wear a mask and socially distance and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, very, very interesting conversation which you can watch as soon as you're done watching this over on YouTube. It's a Jimmy Rants bonus episode with Keith Norris. And then finally, pop on over to the official website of this here show. It is JimmyRants.com. You can see all the past episodes there. And then while you're there, if you like what I do here, I really would love to have your support. You can support my Patreon, or you can give a one-time donation through PayPal. So thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants. My friend Brittany says she likes the beard. Yes, it's coming in nicely. I don't usually grow it out and scruffy because it just doesn't do that, but I do like the kind of shorter look of the beard, so it's all good. But thank you for noticing. So, guys, today I want to get back on a nutritional health topic. I kind of bounce around with the various topics on this show by design. It would be boring if all I ever talked about is, yeah, you should cut your carbs and not eat fake food and embrace real whole food. Like if I said that every single day, it would be a very boring show. And there's more to Jimmy more than just talking about diet. But we are going to get back on a nutrition topic here today, because maybe you grew up in a world where your mom and dad or somebody in your life was a big fan of vitamins. And I remember when I was a kid, there was this company called Shaklee. Any of you remember Shaklee back in the day? Maybe they're still out there. All I know is they were like this multi-level marketing campaign for vitamins. And everybody swore by Shaklee. And I remember my dad would host the meeting for Shaklee in one of his restaurants. And these people would give up and give the testimonial. Oh, I took vitamin E and my skin has never been clearer in all my life. They don't, I guess, talk like that, but it was in Tennessee, so they might have talked like that. But it's like you have all these people that they swear by vitamin supplementation. Now, let me be very clear. I think vitamin supplementation is amazing. I think we would probably be a lot healthier as a nation if more people embraced trying to make sure they were sufficient in various vitamins and minerals. In my book, Real Food Keto, we talked all about the importance of various micronutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the trace minerals, and all those things in your health. So What I'm going to share with you today is not meant to challenge that, other than to make you think and to give you a little bit of a historical perspective. Because a lot of times we tend to believe things just because we've heard them. And I did a Jimmy Rants about this several months back, where people's natural inclination when they hear about something or read a headline is to just immediately believe it. You don't question it. You don't do your research and try to vet it out right away. Your first inclination is you see a claim in a headline and you automatically believe it. Now, some people go back later and they do the footwork and they say, oh, wow, that's not true, da-da-da-da-da. Most people, they see it, they believe it. And one of those things that they see and believe is that taking vitamin C is this grand cure-all for so many aspects of your health. Think about when you were a kid. Why did you ever drink orange juice? Okay, maybe it tasted good to you, maybe you liked the flavor, but no, most of us were sold on orange juice. And I remember it was Sunny Delight, it was Sunny D when I was a kid. Mama used to make us drink a glass of that every day because it's fortified with lots of naturally occurring vitamin C. Oh, kids, you need to take your vitamin C in order to prevent a common cold or other, what we now know are coronaviruses, and boost your immune health. And we all believed it. Like, nobody ever questioned, is vitamin C this great panacea for your immune health? So I found an article, and it's several years old, but I thought it was a pretty good article. Take what you want out of it. It had some good historical details. This is from Vox. How Linus Pauling duped America into believing that vitamin C will cure the common cold. It's amazing. Jack says, I was all about to have some grapefruit juice. You're going to get a lot of vitamin C in grapefruit juice, Jack. So grapefruit juice is one of those things that it's a hard no for me, only because I watched my mama eat a lot of grapefruits when I was a kid thinking she was being healthy. But if it does something for you, more power to you. You wake up with a stuffy nose, and your first reaction might be to down a glass of orange juice, unless you're keto, and then... Actually, vitamin C is very abundant in a lot of organ meats, and so you can get vitamin C that way, but they never talk about that. It's always orange juice. It's kind of like potassium. People, oh, you got to eat a banana, and it's like, no, there's more potassium in avocado than there is a banana, but they always think of bananas for potassium. But don't bother. Everything we know about research shows that mega dosing vitamin C is absolutely positively useless at fighting colds. All that extra orange juice will do nothing to shorten the length of your sniffles. So if you're joining us late, I'm reading from an article that's challenging this notion that vitamin C is a panacea in your health, and specifically in fighting off colds. And they're going to make the argument that we were duped by a Nobel Prize winner who looked at this issue of vitamin C, and we were duped by this guy. So it's a myth in this article's opinion that vitamin C is great. Now we know with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, some of the protocols include having vitamin C and zinc and kind of a mixture of things. I've been boosting my vitamin D. So again, hear me clearly. I think vitamins are incredible, and I think their use in your health is really, really good. Sue B says, yeah, it used to be Tang for me. Yeah, Sunny D, Tang, all of those things were promoted as healthy because of their vitamin C content. Okay, back to the article. All of this leads to the question, how did America get sold on this vitamin C myth? Is it vitamin manufacturers trying to get us to buy more pills? Has the orange industry tried to dupe us over the years? Part of it has to do with the fact that vitamin C is rarely harmful, so there's been little impetus to intervene. And this is true. Vitamin C is what's called a water-soluble vitamin, meaning that it's absorbed well in the body, and whatever is not needed by the body can be excreted very quickly through your urine. If you ever take like a vitamin C supplement, and then your urine turns this really gross looking color, that means you kind of overconsumed what your body could actually absorb and use. So it gets rid of that extra vitamin C. Fat-soluble vitamins are a little more tricky because they can kind of linger around there. But yes, Blazer Mama is saying it doesn't build up in the body. And that's true. It gets rid of it very quickly. So they don't really say a whole lot when people say, well, I want a mega dose vitamin C to kind of prevent colds or maybe prevent COVID-19 hitting you, or if it does hit you, maybe it lessens the severity. So let's get back to the article. There's a lot of misinformation out there on vitamin C because it is a safe vitamin, says Heather Mangieri, a nutritionist at the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And part of it traces back to the scientist, very famous scientist. You probably heard of this guy before. Linus Pauling is his name. He came to believe that vitamin C could be a cure-all for numerous ailments. He's no longer alive today, but his legacy is still duping millions of people. Remember, the person writing this article thinks that vitamin C, using it for health consequences to prevent colds, is a myth. So just as I'm reading this, don't think that's Jimmy Moore's opinion. I'm just reading from the article as a mind bender for you guys today to think about. Half of all Americans take vitamin supplements on a regular basis. Yep, I do. I take all kinds of vitamins all the time. Primarily a multivitamin that's iron-free because I get all the iron I need in the foods that I eat, primarily red meat. I do supplement extra right now of vitamin D, but really A, D, E, and K. I do kind of this fat-soluble vitamin complex. And in the midst of COVID-19, I think that's putting my body at a better chance of fighting it off. I do a little bit of probiotics, a little bit of fish oil, and that's about it for me. But a lot of people take vitamins for a lot of reasons. So they say half of all Americans do. They don't tend to hurt you, but many nutritionists say they don't really help either. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think if you get a good quality vitamin, it actually can be beneficial. You also have to have the appropriate diet with those vitamins so you're absorbing them well. A lot of people don't realize this, that eat the standard American diet. That diet is actually pulling nutrients out of your body because it's having to deal with what it perceives as a foreign invader. When you eat fake food, your body kind of goes, whoa, 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 we got to deal with this fake thing. And so eating real food and embracing foods that lower blood sugar and insulin and inflammation levels will enable your body to better use those vitamins and minerals that you do consume. Mega doses of vitamin C, even though supplements like Emergent C are many people's go-tos when cold and flu season hits. Here's how the scientists discovered vitamin C, where the misconceptions came from, and what it's actually good for. So, the discovery of vitamin C came out because of this thing called scurvy. Scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency. It killed 2 million sailors between 1500 and 1800. For a long time, people didn't know about vitamin C. They did know about scurvy, though, which we now know is an extreme vitamin C deficiency. Sailors would take long voyages that were short on fruits and vegetables, which left them with scurvy. Now, we know vitamin C is in organ meats. Had the guys had an ability to store like animal foods on their missions, they could have warded this off as well. And we know from Stefansson, who went and lived amongst the Inuit, and he came back and he talked about, oh yeah, there's no scurvy. They don't have fruits and vegetables, but they have no scurvy. And they couldn't believe that. And so Stefansson agreed to lock himself up in a metabolic ward for a year, only eating food that was animal foods. And he proved you don't get scurvy. There was no scurvy at the end of the year being in a metabolic ward. Like, he willingly put himself in a metabolic ward just to prove the point. And no fruits and vegetables, but he had all the vitamin C he needed from the organ meats of the foods that he was eating, the animal foods. Very, very famous. So I don't think they can blame it just on the shortage of fruits and vegetables. I think shortage of fruits and vegetables and organ meats, because I think that would have mitigated it. They suffered from swollen extremities and painfully inflamed gums. Today, scurvy is rare when it comes to developed countries. To get scurvy, a person's vitamin C intake would have to be below 10 milligrams a day, well below the recommended daily amount for many weeks in a row. So 10 milligrams is just a blip on the map of vitamin C. And there's a lot of foods that contain vitamin C. In fact, in Real Food Keto, we went through all of the different vitamins and found where you could get those vitamins in abundance so that you could, probably get them very easily. I'm trying to see where that is. But yeah, deficiencies in these vitamins are definitely critical. So vitamin C does help improve digestion. But if you consume too much vitamin C, and those of you that have done this, especially during cold season, thinking adding vitamin C was a good thing, it actually acts as a laxative. So you only do that one time. So if you take vitamin C and then within an hour or two you're pooping your brains out, there's a reason for that. It has a laxative effect. It does improve the mineral absorption. It fights free radical damage because it's an antioxidant. It does boost your immunity and promote healthy teeth and gums, vital for proper blood circulation, neurotransmitter creation, and absorbing iron. It's required for steroid hormone synthesis, helps you detox when you have addiction to drugs. It lowers triglycerides, promotes wound healing, and helps remove heavy metals during the detoxification process. So don't hear this article and think, oh, I shouldn't take vitamin C. No, you should. Just know there are great benefits to vitamin C that you're probably not hearing a whole lot about. And that's unfortunate, because I think we need to be always looking at ways to enhance our health and definitely not being detrimental to the health. I thought I had a section in here, and I'm sure I do, I'm just trying to find it on the fly, where there are certain foods in the keto realm that you get vitamin C. But the point is, under 10 milligrams a day is just such a minuscule amount. And you're getting at least that minuscule amount when you eat most of the foods in the keto realm. Joshua says, I did a vitamin C flush by accident one time. Yes, there ain't no feeling like a vitamin C overdose. Don't hear me overdose. It's not that it's harming you. It's just making you poop your brains out. So if you need to see the scale go down like a pound or two, just take a lot of vitamin C. The scale will go down a pound or two. I promise you. If that's important to you. So back then, when scurvy was happening in the 15 to 1800 range, it was a huge problem that was estimated to kill 2 million sailors over that period of time. Scientist James Lind conducted a trial in the year 1747, treating sailors with scurvy in a variety of ways. He found the only effective treatment of those that he tested was having them eat oranges and lemons. And again, I'll tell you, at that point, they didn't know what vitamin C was. They just knew there was something in oranges and lemons that was giving them a benefit for the scurvy. And remember, when you don't have knowledge, you have to just go on instinct. And these guys, this scientist James Lind, was going on instinct. Oh, well, let's see how they do if I feed them citrus. Not realizing vitamin C was also contained in things like organ meats, which they would have eaten then at that point. But apparently these sailors weren't doing that because of storage problems, food storage, bringing an animal on board, cooking methods on board at that point was very primitive. So you kind of have to see it from their point of view at that point in history. They didn't have the modern technologies that we have, where it would be easy to store animals on board the ships. It would be easy to cook on board the ships like it is now. It wasn't until the 20th century that scientists figured out what was in the fruit that was doing the trick. In 1928, Albert Szent-Györgyi, a scientist working at the University of Szeged in Hungary, isolated a substance found in the adrenal glands, and he called it hexuronic acid. In 1931, two American biochemists, J.L. Scurvy and Charles Glenn King, found that the crystalline vitamin C in lemon juice matched all the properties of hexuronic acid. So then Linus Pauling got in on the action. Their discoveries all led Linus Pauling to dig deeper. He was another scientist. He's the only person to ever win 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. In 1949, him and his team studied sickle cell anemia, establishing it as a genetic disease. And he was also arguably the most responsible person for this vitamin C myth. During a talk in 1960, Pauling mentioned that he hoped he could live for an additional 25 years to keep looking for new discoveries in science. A man in the audience would change the course of his career. That man's name, Irwin Stone. And in a letter to Pauling, Stone recommended that he up his vitamin C intake to 3,000 milligrams per day if he wanted to live longer. It says nothing in this article about who this Irwin Stone was, why he hypothesized vitamin C would be healthy, but think about it. It's the same thing that happened with Ancel Keys, who said saturated fat causes heart disease. And then he influenced people like George McGovern, who then got that codified into the dietary guidelines for Americans, which we still believe to this day, not us, but most Americans think are highly vetted out science, and it's nothing of the sort. It was flawed from the beginning. So this Irvin Stone is the Ancel Keys in this story, and Linus Pauling became his George McGovern to bring vitamin C to the masses and make it this belief that everybody to this day still believes. Pauling said he began to feel livelier and healthier after taking this advice to take 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. And in particular, the severe colds that he suffered from several times a year, all of his life, no longer occurred. So, here's a scientist. He starts high dosing on vitamin C. He notices something that used to happen in his health isn't happening anymore. Ergo, his hypothesis is high dosing vitamin C will prevent the common cold. That's what he thought. Over the next few years, he began upping his intake of vitamin C even more, eventually getting up to 18,000 milligrams per day, and it became vitamin C his scientific obsession. And think about it, like if you just took 18,000 milligrams of vitamin C today, you would poop your brains out. So apparently he built up enough of a tolerance, a little bit here, a little bit there, and kept adding to it that he got up to 18,000. Don't do that in one swell food, please. You will feel that effect. In 1970, Pauling came out with a book called Vitamin C and the Common Cold. He encouraged Americans to start consuming 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily. Unfortunately, many laymen are going to believe the ideas that the author is selling, according to a review of an irritating book, according to the Journal of the American Medical Association. And he was right. For example, a January 1971 article, so 1 year after his book came out, from an Oregon newspaper called The Bulletin, they reported local sales of vitamin C were soaring. Area stores reported vitamin C sales were up 10 times of the previous year. And pharmacist Bob Gabriel reported that people not only bought more vitamin C, but there was a demand to have higher dosages. At the time, they only had 100 milligram tablets, which means they had to take 30 of those to get to the 3,000 that he was recommending. That's when they started making 250 and 500 milligram sizes. Yep. Pauling became a vitamin C acolyte. He said it would make the common cold disappear completely off the face of the earth. And there's a lot of people that swear by vitamin C. Even to this day, you ask a lot of people when they get sick, what do you want to take to help with that cold? Oh, vitamin C. Zinc is up there as well. What is that crazy product? I'm blanking on what that product is. It used to be a swab that you could put in your nose, and it had zinc in it. It was this gel, and then that they said you couldn't do that anymore. So then they made these little pills. Anyway, that with zinc. But people swear by that thing, and they swear by Emergen C for the high dose vitamin C. He also said vitamins and nutritional supplements could cure anything. Yeah, Zicam. Thank you, Lindy. Zicam. I used to do the little nose swab things, and thank you, Blazer Mama. I used to do the little nose swab things with Zicam, and I loved it. It actually worked pretty well. But Linus Pauling went on to say it could help with a lot of things, from retinal detachment. I wonder if they're hyperbolizing this in this story because they don't like Linus Pauling and this myth they say of vitamin C. To snake bites, to the virus that causes AIDS. They're kind of mocking him a little bit here. They say his methods weren't exactly conventional. One time he tested a mega dose of vitamin C on school children at a skiing camp in the Swiss Alps. They said they saw a big decrease in colds and the length of colds, but other scientists said those results might not translate to the general population. Now wait a minute. If he did an experiment and it worked, why are they dismissing it as invalid? Well, that doesn't apply to the greater population. No, it's still data. Like I'm seeing definitely a bias here, an anti-science bias of the writer of this article. He was seeing efficacy there. Pauling fought the critics for the rest of his life in a 1990 interview just 4 years before he died. Pauling said that people who take vitamin C and other supplements in the optimum amounts, which again he thinks starts at that 3,000 milligrams a day, would live 25 to 35 years longer. More than that, they will not have disease. Now, I think there's a lot of other factors involved in whether you would be in a disease state or not. I don't think vitamin C covers up a crappy garbage diet. I don't think vitamin C alone, without the symbiosis of a lot of things happening in your life, movement, stress management, all the rest, but vitamin C can be an important part of a healthy lifestyle in conjunction with a lot of things. So I don't like these zealots that grab onto one thing, and I've interviewed many of them over the years, by the way, on the Living La Vida Low Carb show. I had one guy that was just gung-ho about everybody taking iodine, and iodine was going to cure all, and da-da-da-da-da. And then another guy, everything's about magnesia. Oh, you got to have high-dose magnesium and sleep well and do this, and da-da-da-da-da. Another one about zinc, and it's just like, can we get to the point where we realize the totality of all of those things in the proper amounts is what helps you be healthy? Because when you focus in on one thing, as Linus Pauling did with vitamin C, I suppose he became the vitamin C guy. He's the guy we associate with any health benefits coming from vitamin C. We thank Linus Pauling for being the person that brought it to our attention, whether we knew that or not. The reason we think vitamin C is healthy today is because of his work. And same with some of these other things. But let's not pretend like vitamin C alone is the totality of the answer in your optimum health. Vitamin C, meanwhile, began to say the exact opposite. Scientists started looking at this and were repeatedly finding that colds progress much in the same way, regardless of whether you drink a giant jug of Tropicana or not. There was a study, a Cochrane review of 30 different studies looking at people who had colds taking the normal dose of vitamin C. They found that it reduced colds by 8%. Well, there's their problem. They only looked at the normal dose of vitamin C. And you guys know, having been in kind of the nutritional health space on your own, in your own journey, you know that some of the recommendations for the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, are woefully low. We know that with vitamin D. I think the vitamin D recommendation is 400 IU a day. I take 10,000 IU a day. So in those studies, they didn't look at the high dose like Linus Pauling suggested. So it reduced it by 8%, which they said if a cold lasted 5 days, that means it shortened it by 10 hours. But what if they got the high dose of vitamin C Could it have helped? See, that's the problem. Well, science shows. Well, no, the science did not show that. It's kind of like the studies they did earlier this year on hydroxychloroquine. They said, well, it's ineffective. Well, the problem is they were too low a dose and they were too far down the disease path for it to have been effective. Everybody that's used hydroxychloroquine with zinc and Zithromax, when they did it in the proper combination, the proper levels of all of those things, and early enough in the disease, once they got COVID-19, then they saw the benefit. But what was happening was they weren't allowing hydroxychloroquine to be used at that early level. They waited till they were almost on a ventilator and they tried to put it on them then, and then it was too late. So the study has to do it in the proper amounts and at the proper time in order to show the benefit. And that's not what this study showed at all. Researchers have also poured over a lot of effort into examining whether vitamin C supplements lower the risk of cancer. But evidence from clinical trials by and large show that vitamin C supplements usually taken with other nutrients like vitamin E and zinc have no such effect. Again, I think once disease progresses to a certain point, these natural things don't help. What we should be telling people is, if you want to prevent cancer from coming on, maybe as a prophylactic, you could do it ahead of time. This is the thing. They're not telling people this. So that then once the disease comes, see, vitamin C, zinc didn't work. When it could have worked had they been more deliberate about helping people. The same problem cropped up when researchers tried to establish a connection between vitamin C and pneumonia. Lots of people have tried to feed high levels of a single nutrient like vitamin C and look at anything from cardiovascular disease to cancer to cataracts, and most of them have been very disappointing. According to Dr. John Erdman, a nutrition researcher who sat on the panel that decides daily recommendations of vitamins. Ooh, Dr. Erdman, you're part of the problem. And see, I'm starting to become a little bit jaded, you guys, the more I'm observing what's happening in our world. I think they purposely made the RDA woefully inept. Why? Oh, well, vitamins don't work, see? You're eating all the recommended daily and it's not working. Well, what if the recommended daily range is wrong? People like Dr. Erdman are on the committee, the panel that determines what the daily intake should be. What if they were wrong? We know they've been wrong about a lot of things. Why aren't they wrong about this? And maybe their damnation of vitamin C is a bit premature because they didn't really look at adequate levels that would be therapeutic. Despite all this negativity about vitamin C in the scientific literature, people take them anyway. Megadoses can come with some risks. The National Institutes of Health say people should not take more than 2,000 milligrams, which is the equivalent of 2 of the emergent C packets per day. Anything higher than that, they say, will lead to stomach cramps, nausea, and diarrhea. All of that is true. You can have those if you just suddenly take a high dose, which is why Linus Pauling was saying, okay, start with a certain amount and then work your way up a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And eventually your tolerance level will get there. And plus you're absorbing it and your body's able to use it. And it's obviously getting in there and doing all the things that vitamin C would do. But that might not be all. One Swedish study found that men taking vitamin C were twice as likely to have kidney stones as their peers who happen to not be taking the vitamin. Okay, so have that monitored. If those things are a concern, it doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater and say vitamin C is not giving any benefit. What it shows is that there can be issues that crop up, just as anything else in a lifestyle change. Just pay attention. So why, if we can usually get all the vitamin C we need from food, which you could, but you have to be a little deliberate about it, do we buy the extra vitamin C supplements? The idea that it'll do much of anything for our colds is a stubbornly persistent myth, and one that's perpetuated by supplement companies themselves. Well, what do you expect supplement companies to do? If there is this perception by the public, and it's there, that taking vitamin C in the midst of having a cold or at the first sign of a cold is going to give them benefit. If it didn't work at some level in some way, don't you think people would have caught on by now and said, well, yeah, I've tried that, but vitamin C didn't really do anything for my cold? Don't you think they would have just let go of that belief? But no, the reason people still believe it is they're still getting benefit. They are. When the vitamin industry has an opportunity to broadcast news, distribute literature, anything else, it'll take that opportunity. Well, yeah, no kidding. That was stated by Stephen Barrett, a retired psychiatrist. He's behind the quackwatch.org. I will tell you, Quackwatch has listed every single ketogenic doctor, alternative health doctor. They're all on the Quackwatch. So I don't believe what this guy's saying. He wants people to keep the status quo. And there's some people within the natural health world that want people to actually get healthy and not have to rely on medications and surgeries and all the mainstream medical system. So he can question vitamin C and the company selling it all he wants, but the opportunity's there because it works. And here's the thing they're not telling you. When vitamin C works, you don't buy NyQuil. When vitamin C works, you don't have to go to your doctor and have to get a steroid shot or whatever. When vitamin C works, you lessen your input into the medical system through doctors, through medications and the pharmaceutical companies that benefit from that. That's what they don't want to tell you. Vitamin C is going to give you a great benefit. Somehow we've ended up with 20 plus flavors of Emergen-C, which its site assures will boost your immune system, enhance your energy, and a statement that's not been regulated by the FDA. Still, there's a massive market for products like Emergen-C. Just in 2012, Euromonitor International reported vitamin and supplement industry topped $23 billion in consumer spending. And I would say 8 years later, it's easily over 30 billion a year now. And I would say more people are cognizant now than ever before. And I would say in 2020, we're probably seeing even more, because when people heard about this coronavirus coming out, the COVID-19 coming out, I, for example, went and stocked up on some vitamin D because I knew I wanted to high dose it, and I've been high dosing it since mid-March. And so people are going out there, and zinc is another one people are buying a lot more this year than they ever have before. So yeah, mainstream articles like this one, guys, they're always going to question the veracity of a natural health supplement because they know that there is veracity there. Why anybody in the medical profession would not want to see patients actually get healthier through a natural means and instead put them on a pharmaceutical drug or have them go through the system, I don't understand. Which is why you're seeing a lot more people becoming lacking trust in the medical system anymore. They just don't want to believe doctors. There's the old guard that still believes them. My mom's generation, that age, 70 and older, they're going to always believe their doctors. Although my mom is starting to buck the trend. Finally, she's like, okay, Jimmy, I get it, keto, and I'm on it. And I'm like, okay, and you know the doctors don't always have your best interests, but listen to them about a broken arm, but when they try to tell you how to eat, you know to ignore that. Yeah, I know. So slowly, some of them are getting it. But it's my generation and below that we're just kind of going, the gig is up, mainstream medicine. We're on to you. We know the kind of games you've been playing with us. And when you have mainstream articles get out there that tell us, yeah, vitamin C ain't all it's meant to be, we ain't believing you anymore. We're not. All right, guys, I want to see what you guys have to say about this one. We're going to come over here first to my Instagram page, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. What do you think about this vitamin C topic? Do you take vitamin C at the first sign of a cold? Tell me what's on your mind here today. Jack says, this is good info for me. I supplement vitamin C, but knowing now how little I need, I ditch it because I take desiccated liver, which has vitamin C. Yes, if you take an organ meat supplement or you eat organ meats, you are getting a heavy dose of vitamin C in that. And so people don't think about that. This is the problem with supplements in general. People just buy willy-nilly amounts of supplements because, well, I need vitamin D and I need vitamin C and I need and they think, okay, that's the only source of that vitamin, not realizing that in that food is not just macronutrients of the fat, carb, and protein. It's also micronutrients, and there's lots of micronutrients that are in those, which could be duplicating some of the dosages of things like vitamin C that you're taking as an external supplement. So keep that in mind, and I would encourage you, start doing your own research. Again, in my book, Real Food Keto, we talked all about the various foods and what they contain as far as the various micronutrients like vitamin C. Chimp Logic, what's the history of keto carnivore? I figure I know as founder of a carnivore site, started a room on your site. Yeah, well, that's too much for today's episode because vitamin C is the topic here. But yeah, keto started, it was discovered ketogenic. The word ketogenic was actually founded in 1920. And definitely ask that question on Ask Me Anything tomorrow because I'd like to get into the greater details about it. I did tell the story of ketogenic in this book, the Ketogenic Cookbook. So read the very beginning and I tell the story about how the scientists discovered the ketone molecule. And maybe I'll read from the Ketogenic Cookbook if you ask that question on Ask Me Anything tomorrow, but thank you for that. Rachel says, when I was eating a healthy, sad diet years ago, I had Trop 50. It was watered down OJ at the full OJ price. Yeah, and they probably watered it down to cut calories, Rachel. That would be the only reason to do it. And they probably fortified it with some other things to make it seem like it was a health drink. Yeah, don't get me started on the tactics of the food industry and the things that they do to fool people into buying them. Joshua says, we don't even have a family doctor. Healthy people isn't a good business model for our medical system. Yeah, I fired mine many years ago. Of course, I'm in a unique position because I have a lot of knowledge about health things. So I run my own tests, and then if I have questions about the results, I have plenty of MDs at my disposal, but not everybody does have that luxury. But even now, a lot of people are undoctoring, as Dr. William Davis wrote a book called Undoctored several years back. Go check it out if you want to learn. But he says, get out of the system and instead become your own best health advocate. And then there's functional medicine doctors and various people you could consult if you needed help with interpreting data. But you're right. You really don't need it when you're healthy. Joshua says, I take vitamin C when I'm sick. I think a lot of us do. And they mocked it in this article I read from. But I think most people, vitamin C and zinc, and it's going to help ward off a lot of illness that we tend to deal with. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let me pop over here now to my Facebook page. I don't know why I always call you YouTube. You guys are YouTube. You guys are Facebook. Come over to my Facebook page next. See what you guys have to say. What's up, Facebook? Dr. Kamapali says, Linus Pauling protocol did not help my LPA levels. So lipoprotein little a. If you're still here, Dr. Kamapali, I would love to hear you expand upon that a little more. Once I started doing low carb, high fat keto, he says lipoprotein little a came down. I still believe vitamin C and D are needed, but insulin resistance has to be addressed. There it is. We can't just have this carte blanche across the board. This is what you should take of various vitamins. Because your level of metabolism, your ability to absorb those things is so critical. And you take C and D. Vitamin C is water soluble. Vitamin D is fat soluble. So if you're not getting the appropriate amounts of fat in your diet, you're not going to be able to absorb that vitamin D. And if you're not having a high enough dosage of vitamin C, you're not going to get the benefits of it. So you're so right. Dealing with the underlying issues along with these things and adjusting levels of vitamins is so critical in this equation of what we're talking about. Debbie says eating real food helps our bodies use the supplements better. It really does. Because the real food has lots of these micronutrients in it. And then on top of that, you have the supplementation. So maybe part of the reason why people who switch over to a real foods-based diet and they're taking vitamins, part of the reason they start feeling better really fast, I wonder, is for the first time in their life, they're getting appropriate amounts of these micronutrients. Think about that for a moment. When you're eating a crappy garbage diet, you're not only not getting the nutrients in it, but it's sucking nutrients out of your body. But when you switch over to real food, suddenly you're no longer sucking nutrients out, you're putting nutrients back in, and you're supplementing on top of that to make your sufficiency levels to the point where you can be optimally healthy. It's something really fascinating to think about. Is vitamin C faster than magnesium citrate, says Jude? Faster in terms of making you poop? I don't know, and I don't want to be the one that does that N=1 test. You can definitely tell me how that goes. Jude says, I'm a Centrum girl. Yeah, a lot of people swear by Centrum. I don't do hard tablets anymore when it comes to vitamins. The absorbability of hard tablets is very suspect. So I either do capsules or liquid now for just about all of my vitamins. Gel caps, capsules, and liquid. That's pretty much my totality of vitamins. If it's a hard tablet, I just imagine that thing going in my belly and not going anywhere. And remember, when you don't have a lot of stomach acid, which 9 out of 10 people are very low in their stomach acid, you won't be able to digest that thing, and it'll just sit there. And then you take another one the next day, and it just sits there. And you take another one the next day. You see what I'm talking about? And then it starts to build up, and you're not absorbing that. So try to get liquid vitamins, try to get capsules, try to get gel caps. Those things will all help you out. All right, thank you, Facebook. Let me pop over here now to my YouTube channel. What's going on, YouTube? See what you have to say about this. Enjoyed your interview with Keith. Thank you, Shirley. Again, the Jimmy Rants bonus episode today over on YouTube. Keith Norris talking about COVID-19. Sunshine Butterfly. Yes, life-changing for my kid with autoimmune kidney disease. Her scurvy symptoms of bone pain, muscle pain, and headaches and bruises all were resolved in week 2 of high-dose vitamin C. That's amazing. My kid used to get fevers of 104 for 4 to 6 days to 12 hours on day 3 of a cold with a fever of 99 to 100. That had to be miserable. Dr. Paul Merrick saving people from sepsis and ARDS, vitamin C, melatonin, and zinc all work for COVID as well. Yeah. Adam says he has spleen once a week. I've never had spleen before, but again, that's another one of those organ meats that could be providing hefty doses of natural vitamins. Marianne says, I take vitamin C daily, not just when I'm sick. Yeah, a lot of people do take it as a preventative. I have a modicum of vitamin C in the supplement that I take. I take a multivitamin called Keto Essentials. It is a company that I own called Keto Living. So if you go to ketoliving.com, I didn't plan on promoting that, but ketoliving.com, you can get the Keto Essentials multivitamin. And it was developed by me and Dr. Adam Nally, a medical keto guy that is a medical physician out in Arizona. And we developed that specifically for keto dieters to give them sufficient amounts of the various micronutrients. It's iron-free, but you can check that out. And yes, it is definitely a good preventative to go ahead and have that in your system so that maybe you get a cold, but you don't even know it because your body was able to fight it off. And this is something 2020 has taught us abundantly. Our immune system, when working properly and when optimized and when given all the core elements that make it work well, it works well. And our immune system can fight off coronaviruses like the common cold, not just COVID-19. People call COVID-19 the coronavirus. No, coronaviruses is like all of these family of viruses, including common cold, including the seasonal flu, including these are all coronaviruses. So I wish they would pinpoint what they're talking about when they said the coronavirus. It's COVID-19. Pet peeve time. But yes, take it as a preventative measure. And I swear by vitamins. I love taking vitamins and getting real food, which would then supplement the supplement. Yeah. All right, so guys, you're going to see these kinds of things out there. And I think with the stepping up of attacking alternative health types of websites and things that's been going on in our culture, this is another part of it. They're going to try to dismiss things like vitamin C to try to discourage you away from eating it. We're seeing it even with like meat. Look at what they're doing to meat. They're telling you red meat's gonna kill you. Red meat gives you cancer. The scaremongering, and then meanwhile they're creating cloned meat. Meanwhile they're creating vegan burgers. Oh, this is a better option. You see how they're subtly trying to get you to see that up is down and right is left, and on and on and on. It's not going anywhere. When they try to pull this crap, I will be here to help call them out. So thanks for watching today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content right here on Instagram. Thanks for being here today, you guys. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. We are here Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I did have a question come in. I don't usually get questions other than Ask Me Anything. How much is the appropriate daily dosage of vitamin C again? Well, if you're following Linus Pauling, he said 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C to try to be the preventative. I don't know that you have to go that high. And plus, if you start that high, you may have some of the gastric distress that comes with that. So I would say start at some level that's higher than what you're doing now and work your way up. And of course, it's so subjective as to when you've had enough. But I assume if you never get sick, you have enough. You have enough. So we also simulcast over here on Facebook. Can't believe how many people believe the crap, says Debbie. Yeah, they believe the crap. They do. They do. On Facebook, we also simulcast over on YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. Dolly Mommy says you could use ester C. Yeah, that's a popular one as well. A lot of people like to do. If you missed the live, do watch it on the replay on IGTV. We put it up right after the show is over. It will go right up on Instagram television. We also put it up over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. And don't forget, Jimmy Rants bonus episode. I did an interview with Keith Norris from the Paleo FX conference. And he and I had a nice conversation about some of the things that are being put out there about COVID-19 and that there might be a deeper reason why those things were put into place. So very fascinating conversation. And then finally, go over to the official website for this here show. It is at jimmyrants.com. And while you're there, you can see all the past episodes, and you can also support my work. One-time donation of PayPal, or you can join my Patreon. It would be really appreciative. I would be really appreciative if you could help support the work. All right, guys, that's it for now. We will be back again tomorrow for Ask Me Anything. And Dolly Mommy, that is a perfect question to ask for Ask Me Anything. So be sure to be here 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday, and we'll see you then.